There was a serious injury incident at a major indie event last night. Plus, multiple WWE stars appeared at TNA Genesis last night too. And we had a major TNA title change. It's all in the Cultaholic Wrestling news right now. So yesterday, GCW hosted its biggest show ever, the People vs. GCW at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Massive crowd on hand for that show, which saw a grudge match between Effie and Allie Katch. The winner of that match set to face Mance Warner for the GCW title in the main event. However, only a few minutes in, we had an injury incident take place, quite a major one too.
Yeah, Allie goes for a tope suicida through the ropes, as we see multiple times during a wrestling show, and on ladder you just see it's so gruesome straight away. Her leg's facing the wrong way, basically. It's a big old dirty broken leg, a horrible scene, and then the show gets postponed because of the Athletic Commission, which I didn't realize was still a thing in New York, but they had to wait for a second ambulance to arrive because obviously the first ambulance at the arena took her away to get treatment.
Yeah, you knew something was up as soon as that tope hit, and Ali screaming in pain. She looked in a bad way. You could tell by the leg as well that it reminded me, because I'm a fan of a certain vintage, of what happened to Sid Vicious in 2001, and Ali was in a lot of pain from it. The match came to a grinding halt. Mance Warner came out to do a brawl with Effie, which I believe was designed to kind of draw attention away from Ali as she was being seen to. She got stretchered out from there, and GCW owner Brett Lauderdale very briefly joined commentary to reveal that Ali was injured. This was confirmed on Twitter with him saying no storyline, real injury, sending positive vibes to Allison. She went straight to the hospital. Steph DeLander giving an update on Twitter, revealing that Ali had suffered a broken leg in 2 places, and she could be having surgery as soon as today.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Bloody hell, what a horrible incident it was. The GoFundMe that has been set up is in the description down below if you are in a position to donate to that. And yeah, just wishing her all the best and speedy recovery. Bloody hell.
Honestly, I've had the pleasure of working with Ali on a couple of occasions when she's come to the Northeast, and they're brilliant, just brilliant people to be around, and they're going to be a miss on the scene for as long as it takes to get better. Full and speedy recovery, and as Ross said, in the description is the GoFundMe that was set up by Steph DeLander. If you can support them during their recovery, then please do so. And obviously, as you said there as well, it led to the British Athletic Commission, nothing to do with us. The Athletic Commission wouldn't restart the show, I guess because so much of, for one, it's just kind of standards now to have some sort of medical presence at a wrestling show. Isn't it funny how that's like a new thing?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
And I guess it does make total sense, because obviously one ambulance takes the injured wrestler away, Ali in this situation, and then obviously what happens if the next match goes on and something similar happens and there's no ambulance there. So I can see why that had to happen, but it must have been weird if you're a fan in the crowd just sitting there for a little while waiting for obviously a second ambulance to arrive at the arena. It
was a busy old night for GCW, and we'll talk a little bit more about it throughout the day as well. Meanwhile, also down the way in Texas, we had TNA Genesis. A lot of hype going into this one because in the days leading up to it, this partnership was announced with WWE and TNA. The NXT logo became emblazoned on the Genesis pay-per-view logo, and I believe that helped in terms of selling extra tickets because it was a phenomenal crowd on hand for TNA last night.
Yeah, so the capacity, I don't know how much obviously it takes away with the entrance ramp and the stage and the big LED screen and whatnot, but it's 6,800 seating capacity where they were doing the show last night, so it mustn't have been too far off that. It certainly looked that way in as well, but several NXT faces did appear on the show. Who was first, Tom?
Ashante the Adonis. There he is, getting battered by Jake something. Oh, mate.
You can see why, Tom. He got the big kiss from where Carmen Petrovic this week on NXT. They've been going backwards and forwards. Are they boyfriend and girlfriend? Are they not? So obviously other things on his mind apart from wrestling.
From Petrovic to petrified. He got battered by Jake something in the pre-show match. Also, just as the Hardys were set to defend the NXT World Tag Titles against the Rascals, there's Fraxium turning up.
And they had Fraxium on their little chevron in the bottom corner there, which is great news for Booker T, who was confused on last week's NXT why Mike Rome called them Nathan Fraser and Axiom and not Fraxium.
Exactly.
So, good for Booker T this Monday morning.
They sat on chairs and watched the early moments of that TNA Tag Title match until they were accidentally wiped out by a Trey Miguel dive. They nearly came to blows until security moved Fraxium to the back.
I'm sure it'll lead to nothing, Tom. They'll just move on with their lives and nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. And then after Rosemary won the Clockwork Orange House, after Masha Slamovich won over Rosemary in the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match for the TNA Knockouts World Title, champion Masha Slamovich stood in the ring, just surrounded by carnage. And who should walk out but Cora Jade?
Yeah, this is probably the most telegraphed appearance that we've talked about so far, because on this week's NXT, or last week's NXT, sorry, Cora Jade's making her entrance. And who's in the crowd? She had to sort of shuffle her chair forward because she was surrounded by big burly men. It was quite a funny scene. It was obviously Masha Slamovich, yeah.
Wasn't quite positioned in exactly the right place.
I'm here.
I think it's one of those where the production elements with WWE, when they do stuff like that, are so spot on. Yeah. So when it's not, it's quite funny. You really needed Masha sat on the end rather than sat between, like I say, several burly blokes just going, hello. Like she's just seen her mate on the bus. It's like, oh, hello, you're right. You got a bingo later?
It tells us that Cora Jade's got some sort of sixth sense for TNA wrestlers being in the crowd, because she looked that way as if someone was there, and then it just turns out that Masha Slamovich was there. Yeah. Incredible scenes.
And a sense was been going off because she was there, was Cora Jade at TNA Genesis, sizing up Masha Slamovich, and even did the pose. Did the pose.
What could that mean?
That means I am wearing a rubber ring. Cora Jade looking like she wants the TNA Knockouts World title.
And that's fair play to her, I guess, because she's a bit lost in the shuffle at the moment with the stacked women's division in NXT at the moment. There's no sort of place for Cora Jade, who at one point was a proper focal point of the division, but now she's just sort of Roxanne Perez's lackey in this sea of hosses who are now taking over the division, like your Julias and your Stephanie Vickers, etc.
And what we're seeing throughout this is probably what this TNA WWE relationship is going to look like, where we're going to see a few NXT guys head over to TNA and be a part of Impact and get some ring miles essentially. But also on the odd occasion we'll see some NXT guys doing stuff, or some TNA guys maybe popping over to NXT. The higher echelon of those doing that for stuff for NXT. So we're starting to see that come to play. It really did feel like the start of a new era last night for TNA, and yet another new era, not only with the birth of this relationship with WWE and TNA, but also a new bloody TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He's done it! Yes!
Finally! What are you waiting this long for, TNA, you set of bastards? Bloody hell.
TNA came that close to TNA in last night.
I'll tell you what, John, Tom, that's your name, Tom. When John came out last night on the show, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do it again. But thankfully, JBL didn't do anything that was worthy of a John O'Clock. He did the right thing and felled a couple of fellas, which allowed then Joe Hendry to get a nice, straight down the line, lovely victory.
It was interesting because it was in the last, it was basically replicated the Bound for Glory bit, with the exception of, because in the Bound for Glory one, he took out Kaz, he took out Ryan Nemeth, and he took out Joe Hendry. Yeah. This time he didn't take out Joe Hendry.
Yes.
Just like, right, off you go.
Just the first two this time. Lovely stuff as well.
Yeah. And it was a clean win for Joe Hendry, who is now finally TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Third, I thought if they don't do it this time, then what are they doing? I'm going to write a strongly worded email if they don't do it this time.
It was shades of John Bon Jovi, wasn't it? It's now or never. He's not going to live forever, is he?
He's not.
None of us are.
No, he's not. Well, he'll live forever now as a TNA champion. He's in the record books now. And he's only the second Scot to do it.
Drew Galloway.
Yes. And he's only the third ever Brit to do it.
Magnus, who sounds more Scottish than Drew Galloway, but he's not. It's Nick Aldis from back in the day.
And it ends Nick Nemeth's reign at 183 days. When TNA Genesis went off the air, Joe Hendry thanked the fans for their support, put over the TNA locker room, and ushered in this new era with Joe Hendry on top, proving that he's promising he's going to make everybody make it worthwhile that they believed. Yeah. So, yes! Down at the last.
Obviously, yeah. Stupid, yeah. I mean, stupid in the most positive way. You didn't think, if you sat at the start of 2024 and said, this is what Joe Hendry's going to do this year, you'd be thinking you're talking absolute codswaddle. Codswallop even. But he went and did the things he did, and just to get this crowning achievement at the start of this year, it's past its due date, my goodness me.
Yeah, it was past its due date. If it was a pack of salmon, then it would almost be on the turn. So thankfully, we didn't have to do the smell test on Joe Hendry, and he is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Come on, lad. Yeah. Go on. Get in. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Yes.
For the very latest wrestling news at any time, you can check out Cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.